This is the Heroic Voice, where I talk to comic book creators, people I've worked with, other interesting people, about the history of comics, superheroes, and the current state of the comic book industry. I also discuss current and upcoming projects, current events, and any other topics my guests might be interested in talking about. So subscribe and hit the like button. Help me grow this channel and promote indie comic book creators, publishers, and other people affiliated with the comic book industry. Your comments are appreciated. Get to it and leave feedback, good, bad, and otherwise. I am your host, Dennis Mallonee, writer, publisher of the Heroic Multiverse, where we spotlight good girls, bad girls, super babes, and superheroics in a classic, kind of golden agey style. Grab some snacks and enjoy. This is the Heroic Voice. Okay, it is June 18th, 2024. I'm Dennis Mallonee. This is the third episode of the Heroic Voice, where we talk to very talented comic book people and other people about comics, about history, about anything they might want to talk about. Hi, Chris. It's been a while.
Hey, how you doing? Thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, you're quite welcome. I'm glad we finally got the audio to work.
Yeah, me too.
I'm having some trouble with that. We finally figured out that there was a control I wasn't hitting. So on my end, not Chris's end. So what I'd like to talk about, this is the Heroic Voice. It's an opportunity to give you a voice. My first question is, what got you interested in artwork? And then followed up, what got you interested specifically in comic books?
Well, with me, it was back in second grade, I was drawing a cowboy, and other classmates started gathering around my table to look at my drawing, which I didn't think was anything special. I didn't know, but they all thought it was pretty cool. So it just kind of went from there. And I got this reputation of being an artist. So, and then of course, anything drawn artwork attracted me, and including the newspaper strips. So I was always reading newspaper strips, including Peanuts, which was a big one. And then from there, I graduated to comics and became fascinated and obsessed almost with comics, always looking for the latest ones.
Comics are great. I remember with me, it was I found some comic books in my brother's room. What the heck is this?
Yeah,
this stuff is cool.
Right. Yeah, and to me, it was just all Superman and Batman. That's all I knew about. And then someone left a grocery bag, a couple of grocery bags full of Marvel comics from just the classic, era from the beginnings, a lot of the beginning ones in the early 60s into the late mid 60s. And I just thought they just blew my mind, Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko stuff that I was totally unfamiliar with. And I was going, wow, this is incredible. So I started copying them and drawing them. I stopped drawing Peanuts and drawing Captain America and.
Yeah, I still see that influence in your stuff. I mean, there's a lot of a lot of Kirby in what you do. There's the cover with for that Champions annual story that you did. The Origin of Giant. Right?
Yeah, came out nice. Yeah, John Buscema was a big influence too. He was one of the top Marvel artists for a long time.
So on a technical level, right, Buscema was better than Kirby, but Kirby was far more dynamic.
Yeah, he did things that no one else was doing really, and a lot of the Marvel artists jumped on to sort of emulate his kind of.
Stan's insistence. Stan insisted that they emulate Kirby. He insisted that Buscema emulate Kirby, which kind of annoyed John, but what the heck? Stan was doing the paychecks.
And it just kind of punctuated the storyline the way that worked, that made them stand out from the other standard kind of style of storytelling.
Do you remember what your first job was in comics?
My first job would have been, it was working with you. I was working with Eclipse Comics that was my first one. I did some tryouts for other things, but including for Eclipse. Like I did, but none of those, I didn't get picked up. Oops, here's my phone. I'm just gonna hang that up. So I got, I sent samples to Eclipse Comics before, and before working with you, and I didn't hear anything back. And then suddenly they called me because the artist on your Champions comic, on the miniseries with Eclipse, suddenly decided she didn't want to do it anymore.
Well, it was not a good fit for her. Carol Leigh
Right, Carol Leigh.
Carol Leigh is a wonderful artist, but superheroes
Yes.
were not her thing.
Yeah, very talented.
Yeah.
So it wasn't her thing. And so that was my opportunity to jump in like halfway through the story, I believe.
You mean this issue?
There it is. That's her cover, Carol Leigh's cover.
And your splash panel, I believe Del Barris inked that.
That's mine. Yeah, Del Barris inked it. So, and he really, you know, made me look a lot better than I was. He's a very talented inker. And
That was great. I love Del.
so, yeah, that's right. I did do the whole issue. For some reason, I
You
thought
did the whole issue. You jumped in with issue number 2 and took it all the way through, issue 6,
right.
which was the end of the Eclipse miniseries. And then we picked up again with a new number 1 issue, which has your cover on it.
Right.
And
Hero Comics.
Hero Comics, right? And still with Del, right?
Del on the inside, yeah. Al Gordon inked the outside.
Yeah.
Cover.
And you remember this, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Sure do. Good job.
It was cool. That story you didn't do though, as I remember. That Galloping Galooper story, that was
I thought I did do.
No, you did. That's right. That was the first story in the issue. It was the iStar backup that Pete McDonald did. Pete McDonald and no, you did. You did pencil that. It was Pete who inked it.
Okay.
The iStar. So you did that whole issue.
Yep. That was that was good. That was good for me. It was a great experience, really good, practice for me getting more accustomed to that kind of work. I hadn't done any comics.
For the original Champions miniseries, that 6 issues was pretty serious, right? That first issue that we did under the Hero Comics label was kind of goofy.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah,
but it was really it helped me get used to doing a monthly comic. And I mean, of course, yeah, I did the Eclipse miniseries too. All of those were really educational for me because when I went to art school, they were discouraging people from pursuing comics in the illustration department. They wanted just to go more serious, like for.
Sounds pretty effete and snobbish to me. Were you doing anything else at the same time that we were working on the Champions book together? Was there some other stuff you were doing?
Well, I was doing commercial art, working for ad agencies, doing like product illustration. Kind of, I think some of it was kind of boring, just steady artwork kind of jobs and some storyboards. But I was sending samples of my Champions work to both Marvel and DC Comics, and also to First Comics. I got a job doing a short story for First Comics. I forget if that's one. So yeah, I forget which order it came in. I did do a job with First Comics and for the Judah character that appeared the backup story in Nexus, and then I one day got a call from DC saying, "Would you like to do Wonder Woman?" I should say I did go to DC Comics. I visited them in person in New York. I flew out there because I had an in-law that lived there, and stayed there and visited them. And people seemed to be nice. They seemed to like me, but they didn't have any work for me. Then, however many months later, they called me and said, "Would you like to do Wonder Woman?" Because they had seen the Champion storyline that we were doing where they're up on Olympus.
Exactly.
and it had Roman columns and people dressed
Yeah,
like
that's
ancient
what they
Greek.
told me too. They
Yeah,
told me they hired you precisely because you've done the
yeah.
Olympus.
So it's just
Yeah.
right up their alley what they needed. And George Perez liked me and he wanted to work with me. So both he and a couple of the editors said, let's get Chris to do this. And I think they had to, argue with other people to convince them to bring me on. And that was it. I started with issue number 25 of Wonder Woman.
Yeah, and that ran for actually for quite a while, as I recall.
Yeah, till issue 44.
Yeah, it's a pretty good
So
run in
that's
those
not a
days.
bad run. Yeah.
Oh, and after that?
After that, I started getting work at Marvel. I went immediately, almost immediately, got hired to do Doctor Strange. I did one issue of Captain America first, and then went from there to doing Doctor Strange. And that went for like 6 issues.
Mm-hmm. You've got some artwork there now. Does that have anything to do with that stuff, or is this later stuff?
That I have with
I
me
see
here.
some stuff on your desk there.
Yeah, this is actually, no, this is not. This is another job that I'm working on.
Oh, okay.
My you sort of publicize them by doing these little mini comic books. So that's another comic job. But I could show you some of the other stuff I'm doing.
That'd be cool.
This,
What are you doing these days? That's kind of what we want to get into, is what your fans should be interested in seeing.
Yeah, well, this is my process. I start out. This is 2 pages. This is pages 4 and 5, and I don't know if you can make
Got to get
that
it close. It's there we go. You can sort of see it.
My squiggles. There's some legibility to them. I can see pretty well what's going on myself in my brain, but it would look kind of messy to other people. But I basically laid out I've done the layout for those 2 pages where I'm going to position the characters. So, but I did bring some original art of stuff that I've done. Here's actually some of the comics. I might as well show you these. Not in any particular order. This is some of my most recent work, though. I did a book. This is the Giants. I did it for the San Francisco Giants. I was the inker on this one, inking the work of Brandon McKinney, the pencil art. And he sent me the blue pencils on the actual paper, and I inked it in, and that came out pretty good.
And these are the San Francisco Giants, not this giant.
Right. Good segue. Yeah, different Giants approved by the San Francisco Giants. I guess they hired that small publisher, 10 Ton Press, to do it.
And we did a similar project with the Denver Broncos a few years ago. Well, we did some stories for their fan magazine.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Huh? Yeah. They're out there teams that want people to publicize their work. So this is something I did for Dollar Tree.
Closer. There we go.
Yeah, sorry, that's not very clear, is it?
But it's kind of glossy and shiny too.
I'll take it out of the bag. They came up with this way of packaging them where you take it out of the comic bag and then you can reseal it. On the flap is at the bottom.
Uh-huh.
Let's see if that's better.
Yeah, that's a little better.
It's still dark, isn't it?
Yeah, it's okay.
So anyway, it's number 1, and it's only going to be 1 issue. They decided they didn't want to. Originally going to do at least 3, but I think they had trouble just getting people to see it. It wasn't always presented properly in the store.
You're not looking for comic books in a Dollar Tree store. I mean, I had the same issue. Years ago, I went to the guy who founded the 99-cent only store and broached the idea of packaging up some of our leftover back issues. We talked about it, and we finally decided that no, people were not going to the 99-cent store looking for comic books.
Yeah, well, the way that they were planning it, the way it was planned is it's an adaptation of their action figures. Called Final Faction. These little action figures, and they're actually pretty good for they became $1.25, and a lot of accessories, the guns and the little vehicles they drove around in, and all the villain aliens. They had all that stuff there, and they were popular. And
Mhm.
that's what made them think, hey, let's do a comic book base. They already had video, like little video movies of them that were CGI before I even did the comic.
Well,
And
you've dealt then, let me, that sort of slides into something else I'm curious about, because you weren't dealing with, comic book company when you were dealing with Dollar Tree.
exactly, they had
So
never done comics.
what, the approach, I mean, comic book companies have a specific approach that they use. It's a corporate kind of thing, right?
Right.
And dealing with Dollar Tree, and that's the same kind of experience that I had when I was dealing with Knott's Berry Farm, when I did
Hmm.
a couple of promo comics for them, right? They had no idea
Yeah.
what they wanted.
So, and that's where the opportunity comes in. You can, for me, it was like, okay, I can teach them how comics are done and kind of shape the way that worked for me to do it for them. Because I was unfamiliar to them. This is how we do it. I pencil it and ink it. In this case, I had to hire a guy to help me ink half of it because I didn't have time to do the whole issue in a month,
So,
and then hire someone else to color it and someone else to letter it.
which would you say was the better experience? Working with Marvel, DC, working with me, working with Dollar Tree, which gave you the most satisfaction? Um,
I would have to say more, working with the bigger publishers, that were experienced with it already, where, we could put out I had a little more time. There was all the machinery was in place with those big companies, including Image Comics,
mhm.
to put out a pretty good polished product. This, but this is years later after working for the big two that I got this job with Dollar Tree. And so, I had a lot more tools at my fingertips that I didn't have back in the Marvel and DC days to do, to scan it in, to color it, because I had to do some coloring myself and some lettering myself. And I was able to do that to get it all done in time.
Great. Okay.
And so, I assembled the team to help me do it.
So you were
And
basically acting as the editor in addition to.
yeah, definitely. How it started was it wasn't Dollar Tree exactly, but it was a company that works with Dollar Tree, like a marketing type company that sometimes comes up with different ideas of stuff to produce for them. And that, I think they were doing that. They were part of the people that made Final Faction, the toy line, and they
Do you know how
wanted.
that contact happened? Did they get in touch with you? Did you get in touch with them?
I got in touch with them. I had heard through a friend that they were looking for an artist, that they wanted to do a comic, and apparently no one else knew this. I was the first one who was a comic artist who was capable of doing something with it that contacted them. And they said, oh yeah, we were thinking of looking for an artist, and no one else they hadn't tried contact anybody, or nor had anybody contacted them. So I was the first one. And I said, well, I'd love to do it. I have the means to produce your comic.
So you took the initiative and you
Yeah.
made the sale and you produced the product.
Yeah. And, so I was able to get a better page rate than I would have probably at Marvel and DC also, because they wanted to do the comic the right way, and they were willing to pay for that, and they had the budget for at least to do the one comic to see how well it paid
That
off.
was my experience also with the Broncos and my experience in dealing, on that limited basis with actually Knott's Berry Farm's parent company.
Uh-huh.
They were willing to pony up,
Mm-hmm.
more than the typical rate.
Right.
Because for them, it was an experiment. It was really out of their advertising budget.
Mm-hmm.
So there was more money actually at their disposal than there would be from, most
Mm-hmm.
comic book companies.
Yeah. So yeah,
So
it's interesting.
what are you working on, other than what you showed us? I mean, are there any projects that you have on tap that, for example, you still have 2 pages of artwork to do? Alrighty, I do want to talk a little bit about the Liberty Girl story that you're working on. You know, and did you I think that's the first time you've ever done her. Did you
Yeah,
have any kind of impression of her?
yeah. Actually, she was in one of another champion story we did.
Oh, right, that Flair
Couple of-
special, the flashback with the to the Vanguard of Freedom.
Yeah, there was that, and then I guess simultaneously with uh, the other Vanguard of Liberty thing we did later, she was in that
Hmm.
as guesting in that before I did the actual Liberty Girl comic story.
Okay. And that issue of Liberty Girl, which isn't even out yet because it's not ready, there were two
So,
Liberty Girl stories.
should I show some previews of it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Here's the double page spread, the pool
Right.
party.
Her all-girl hero league, as
Yeah,
it were.
with
Uh,
Black Enchantress and the Tigress appearing in the
G-Girl, right? The pudgy girl there is actually Miranda the Mermaid.
right.
And we've got the bat flying in. That's Sylvia, the
And,
last vampire.
and
And there's Liberty Girl and Flair back in the window there.
right. And
The
G,
Liberty Girl's in her workout.
G girl,
Mhm.
whole gang.
Yeah.
So that was fun. That was a good one. Here, I hadn't done any double page spreads for a while. This is another page. I think this is follows the double page spread, I think. Yeah,
Yeah,
page six.
which one is that? That's where Sylvia comes down.
Yeah, she changed this from bat into
Human. Oh, that little girl there off to the side, that's Icicle's adopted daughter, Honey.
right.
Yeah. And that's Icicle dressed up as Chrissy Claus. Yeah. This is great. I love it. Yeah, I got to get this colored. I got to get those last two pages finished.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. I'm down. This is actually the one where I first did a Liberty Girl in one of your comics, but she's not in this page here.
But that's the Vanguard of Freedom sequence. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
going back a ways.
Yeah. With Giant. Right.
Yeah, the original Giant, I guess,
Uh-huh.
from the 40s. This takes place in the 40s, everybody.
46, I believe, is the actual
Oh,
date
okay.
of that story.
And I got, let's see, what's the original part of that? No, these are Xeroxes. Let's see what that is.
Xeroxes are cool.
Oh, here's my first issue, first page of my first issue, which you showed earlier
Uh-huh.
in published form.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know how much time we got, but a bunch of others, champions and heroic publications through the years.
Do you have a website that people can go to see what you're up to?
At the moment, not an official website for that. I have stuff on my Facebook page and comicartfans.com. I have a page there.
So if people want to follow you, they can go to your Facebook page and your Comic Arts page.
Yeah, and also
look for Chris Marrinan.
Look for Chris Marrinan at deviantart.com as well.
That's Marrinan.
Thank you. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, and this is in there. Or that story is, I know I have it there. Here's one that I mostly wrote and drew and inked. Another Giant story.
Yes, that one where Giant goes back to the demon base under San Francisco Bay. He gets pulled there by Pammy Pomegranate.
Right. So they kind of teamed up together.
That was a great story, Chris. That was in Heroic Spotlight number 17, which people can order from the Heroic Publishing website.
Right.
HeroicMultiverse.com.
And I wanted to bring back this character who I like drawing.
Leroy, originally the Exoskeleton Man, but that's a silly name, so now he calls himself Cybernotron, which is not a silly name.
Cyberotron. Okay, hope that one lasts. This is a more recent one, or a little more recent than that previous one, of also the Vanguards of Freedom.
Yeah, that was the Liberty Comics two-parter, Liberty Comics 9 and 10, that was written by Steve Perrin.
Also, yeah, that was a fun story. I really enjoyed doing that.
It introduced Steve's character.
This guy.
Yeah, that guy, the Sentinel.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I got to play around with that. Here's another page from that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was
Good
good.
work. I mean, your artwork is great as ever. I mean,
Thank
you
you.
found your style and it just works.
Yeah, and it sort of harkens back to the old school, as they say, style, but that's where I feel most comfortable. So,
Diamond Jim being abducted by jewel people.
and this is his origin of becoming Diamond Jim.
Yeah.
He was a cop. It's another one we did together. You wrote and I drew and inked a horror one.
Oh, Vanity for the Witch Girls books.
And I was really trying to push my style into the direction that would, a little more realist, hard realism.
Yeah, the idea was in the Witch Girls books to have a little, 4 to 5 page horror story in every issue that we hosted by Vanity. We've
Yeah,
got a few of them done, but
right. So that, yeah, I really appreciated that opportunity to kind of spread my wings a little and go beyond what I normally do.
that was the story where the guy goes to a nunnery, tries to, blackmail them or something, and finds out that they're all vampires.
Yeah, I think he was going to take over the place.
Yeah.
He was a big shot. So yeah, he got his comeuppance. This was one of the more recent ones that we worked on together. Oh, this is the Liberty Girl story, I guess.
Yeah, that's part of
Yeah.
that. Which one is that? That's
It's
that's the Fletcher sequence.
yeah, it's Fletcher sequence.
Fletcher the Bowman, where
It's
he
an adventure.
thwarts
Yeah,
Dr. Demonic's evil plan to drop an atomic bomb on Manhattan.
right. And it's another one. This was the Rose story,
Oh,
or what do
yeah.
you call her?
Psyche.
Psyche. Yeah.
Yeah, she finally decided to adopt a superhero name. So she calls herself Psyche when she's doing champion stuff.
Yeah. So that's like one of the final pages of that story, which I wish I had the other one. There's another Psyche one. That's all I got together right now.
Oh,
Another Psyche.
that's the story that was written by Frank Brunner.
Right. Yeah, we did a couple. I did a couple with him, which I really enjoyed doing. And he did the covers for all those.
Yeah, we've got another one in the can that we never got around to doing. The cash issues had to stop publishing, but I want to get that into print someday.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah, I hope
it
so.
was a good story.
Mhm.
And Frank really knocked himself out writing that and doing those covers.
Right.
I think Frank's pretty much retired these days, at least from artwork. But maybe we can, if we
Yeah.
can get to that, we can get him to come back in and
Yeah.
finish writing it.
Flattery usually works.
Yeah, yeah, sometimes. There is
So,
another project that we started doing. I showed this earlier, this giant book. The idea was to do a whole sequence of stories with teenage Billy Jensen, the Nemesis girl's son,
uh,
learning to change himself into giant, right? And his mom saying, "No, you do not get to be a superhero. You're a kid, right?
right,
Superheroing is dangerous." And oh, mom, right? And doing that whole teenage angst thing with Billy wanting to be a
uh,
superhero, and mom telling him no and looking for every opportunity he could to do it.
right,
Which that story you did was actually in that sequence, where
uh,
he sneaks out and has
right,
pancakes with Pammy, and then Pammy, not knowing that Giant is actually a little kid, drafts him to go get her base back from the jerks at Demon who stole it from her,
right.
which was
Yeah,
a really great story idea. I love that story.
I had a kick doing that too, and I used it to send samples to various other publications. So
Okay.
big help for me.
I have another giant story that I want you to do
Right.
that involves him trying to protect his mom from Ares, the god of war,
Mm-hmm.
who is interested in her and wants to recruit her for a challenge of the gods, right?
Okay.
And Will, like being an overprotective little kid who loves his mom, gets into a big fist fight with Ares, only to
Yeah, of
find out that his mom has decided that she wants to do it, which
course.
really throws him for a loop.
Uh-huh.
So anyway, that's the story I would like you to do next when we have time to do it.
It sounds like
Now,
it'd be a blast.
what is on your future? Do you have plans going forward? Is there something you'd like to talk about that we haven't talked about? Something?
Well, it's still in the early stages. I'm working on a graphic novel, possibly a series of graphic novels, which will be crowdfunded with the writer Stephen Grant.
Oh, Stephen, what's he up
Yeah,
to? Well,
he,
obviously he's up to something with you.
he's doing various things. He's got a lot of things, projects, either in development or already happening. Some of them involve, I think, the ones that are in development are like, I think, other media besides comics. I know he's doing some other comic work. I don't know if I should talk about it because I'm not.
No, you shouldn't, because we want to talk about you. I mean,
yeah. So it's a crime story, and we still have a lot of work to do. But basically, it's in my court now to start doing the artwork, and then we have to arrange crowdfunding. So typically, you want to have a lot of pages done before you go for crowdfunding.
I've been doing crowdfunding. I've had some pretty good success with it.
Yeah,
and
it's worked great.
The lesson that I've learned is you really need to have the book, underway and being close to finished so that you don't end up disappointing, the backers who would like to get the book as quickly as possible.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's understandable. So yeah, we're waiting for all those to fall into place. And similarly, I have my own projects that I want to crowdfund, my own characters, and possibly bring back some of my old characters that I did with Image, which I may have copies of here. Let's see. Champions. Well, I don't have it. Okay, I thought I did.
But they can find it on your Facebook page or
yeah. And they are the Headhunters, which are a lot of fun, and some of them I want to spin off into a new story with new characters. But that's all conjectural at this point. But yeah, those are the things that I hope to be having come together in the near future.
One thing that I should mention is that 2026 is coming up. It's not that far away. And I would like to do some kind of Liberty Girl special for the 150th anniversary.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So maybe keep that in the back of your mind too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's wrap this up. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Fans, again, go to Chris's Facebook page, go to his DeviantArt page, go to his, what was the other one?
Comic Art Fans.
Comic Art Fans. And by all means, go to the Heroic Publishing website at heroicmultiverse.com.
Yeah.
And you can actually get a preview of Chris's Liberty Girl book, Liberty Girl #6, on the website. It's there. So, okay. So I will sign off. Thank you for being here, and let's plan on doing this again sometime.
I look forward to it.
Okay. All righty, Chris. Bye-bye.
Bye.